This is going to be a short lesson on how to simplify complex fractions. It is a combination of the simplifying and also the adding and subtracting. The first thing you're going to want to do with this, just like we looked at that complex fraction the other day, is we're going to change this division to the division symbol and make the problem horizontal, which will make it a lot easier to look at and to work with. So we're going to make this 2 over x minus 1 over 4x. Put the numerator and the denominator in parentheses. You can get rid of them once you get each combined into one fraction. Now I'm going to do two things at once in the next step just to save some space. We're going to do the keep, change, flip. And we're also going to find a common denominator in the numerator. Now, in the next problem, we're going to have to find the common denominator first. Because there will also be a common denominator in the numerator, but here we can do them in one shot, so just to save some space, we will do that. So the KCF would be the keep, change to multiplying, and flip over the second fraction. Since it's only one fraction, we can do that right away. And then finding the common denominator in the first parentheses, the common denominator would be, in this case, 4x. This is for the numerator. So we are going to do oops, don't need to do that yet. We're going to multiply the first fraction by 4 over 4, since the other fraction already has 4x. That's going to give us 8 minus 1 over 4x times x over 2. At this point, you can keep the parentheses, get rid of the parentheses, because you have one fraction each. And then we're going to just cancel what we can cancel out. So again, if you're doing canceling, make sure it's light. I'm going to do a different color. We're going to cancel out the x's and then multiply together the two fractions, so we'll get a final answer of 7 over 8. So these do look very complicated to start with. The key is this first step of switching it to horizontal to make it a lot easier to work with. Okay, our second example is a little bit bigger and will involve some more work, so I may have to scroll to another page for this one just to get everything to fit. Kind of take this one step at a time. So again, our first step here is going to be to change, let's use the right colors, to 1 over x. I'm going to leave some space because I'm going to want to get common denominators with these. Although we do have to factor something out first. Actually, this division symbol is coming from the big division symbol. Now, since there's multiple things in the denominator, I'm going to put the whole denominator in parentheses, kind of like you might do in the calculator if you don't use alpha y equals. Okay, now, just like I would do with adding, subtracting problems, I do want to factor, if possible. So in the next step, I'm going to factor out the 3. Now, because I know that I'm going to be also finding the common denominator in this step, I'm going to make some extra space to do that. Okay, so this is a good video to go back and watch again, and the reason for that being that we're going to be doing 2 steps in one, so sometimes looking back at your notes, you might not notice that. The key to seeing it is also possibly changing colors. So our common denominator in our first parentheses is x times 3 times 1 minus x. So the first one's missing, the 3 and the 1 minus x. So just like we did with adding, subtracting, multiply that on the top and the bottom. The second one is missing just the x, so we're going to multiply by x over x. And then on the denominator side, the common denominator is going to be x times 1 minus x. So we just have to multiply each one by basically the other denominator. So you're going to see this looks complicated because adding subtracting already was complicated, and now we're adding in two different problems kind of in one. Okay, our next step is going to be to combine it into one fraction. So we're going to get 3 minus 3x minus 1x over, and I'm going to just simplify this down, 3x times 1 minus x divided by x minus 3 plus 3x over x times 1 minus x. Now the order doesn't really matter. Combine your stuff together, so we're going to have negative 4x plus 3 you can already kind of see before you even flip what's going to cancel out. I'm just going to pause for a second here. You can hit the pause button just to get that step copied down, because in my next page I'm going to do the flipping and the multiplying. So at this point you're going to be doing that keep, change, flip. And again, I'm going to move on to the next page to do that. There's actually multiple things that will cancel out here. We're going to do just one at a time. So we're going to cancel out the 1 minus x's. Those will cancel. We're going to cancel out the x. I'm going to rewrite this right now as negative 4x plus 3 over 3 times 4x minus 3. Notice the numerator and denominator look similar, but the signs are different. So something you can do when the signs are different is pull out a negative 1 as your GCF. Now, that entire factor will cancel. Again, light canceling if you're going to do canceling. So that one was kind of a monster one. Your practice assignment is going to be mixed, some easier ones, and I think one or two harder ones, mostly easier ones.